for joining our meeting this afternoon. It is September 4th, 2025. And again, we'll call this meeting to order. It's 5:27. Director Todd, can we have a roll call, please?
Recording in progress.
You want to start over?
If you would, just recall it.
No problem. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It is September 4th, 2025, our City Planning Commission meeting. The time is 5:28, and we will call this meeting to order. Director Todd, can we have a roll call, please?
You certainly may, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bennett,
Present.
Commissioner Daniels,
Present.
Commissioner Esparza,
Present.
Commissioner Harrison,
Present.
Commissioner Lewis, and Commissioner Smith,
Present.
Commissioner Russell, Commissioner Udabi.
Present.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, Director Todd. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. Director, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
There are none.
As there are no amendments to the agenda, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Bennett. Thank you, Commissioner Daniels. All in support of approving the agenda as presented, indicate your support with the sign of aye.
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 Aye. And all in opposition, sign of nay. There are no nays. The agenda has been approved as presented. Next, we have the meeting minutes for April 17, 2025. Looking to entertain a motion to approve those meeting minutes as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Bennett. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All in support of approving the April 17, 2025 meeting minutes, indicate your support with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all in opposition, sign of nay. There are no nays. The meeting minutes for April 17, 2025 have been approved. Next, we have the 5:15 public hearing. This is to consider the request of T. Van Fox on behalf of MHT Housing and Tyler Harding on behalf of the Detroit Housing Commission to modify the existing PD plan development zoning classification created by Ordinance 50-10 on zoning map number 40 at the former Herman Gardens Public Housing Site, now known as Garden View Estates, to allow for the construction of a new multi-family housing complex, including 53 townhomes and 120 apartments. And it looks like Ms. Sweet, would you be supporting us this evening, Ms. Sweet?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready, take it away.
And if I could let the petitioner introduce themselves and then share my screen.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody. My name is Luke Willian, working for MHT Housing on behalf of T. Van Fox and Tyler Hardy of the DHC to present this new development to you.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'm going to share my screen. As you said, this is for the Garden View Estates. It's a plan development modification. And 1 second, sorry. The site is located in District 7, and it is roughly bound by Tireman Avenue to the south, Joy Road to the north, Southfield Freeway to the west, and Asbury Park to the east. That's the entire site of the original plan development. This request was made, as you said, to modify the PD to allow for new multifamily housing to be built. And the original PD was created in 2010. The proposal would allow for the 72 townhomes and 57 apartment units. These structures will be spread over 2 blocks in the existing PD area. The subject area, in addition to the 2 vacant blocks that are part of this proposal, the Garden View Estates also had additional land which was developed to the east with a variety of homes, townhomes, single family, and all of the land to the west has remained vacant and undeveloped since 2010. The surrounding zoning for this site includes PD to the north. Again, that's the same site. It is PD and undeveloped also to the east, as well as multifamily residential to the east. R2 to the south, and that's developed with church and residential, and PD to the west, also undeveloped. The future land use for this site is low-density residential or low-medium density residential with a small amount of land just to the east in the actual PD that is designated as institutional. There's some neighborhood commercial along Joy Road to the north. And this image does show the entire site. Again, it was the former Herman Gardens complex, which was demolished in the late 90s to make, and later became this planned development that was not seen through in the development. And so making use of some of those lots that have just remained undeveloped for over 15 years. And I'm going to let our petitioner speak to their project.
So this site, when originally, Detroit Housing Commission originally put out an RFQ for this vacant land in the fall of last year, went through a process, and MHT Housing was eventually awarded to be a development partner in this project with the Housing Commission. So MHT is the lead developer in this project. Everything that we've done over the past year or so has been with the DHC and hand in hand and with the community itself. Our goal overall with this project was to build a level of community that was supported through various AMI levels. Wanted to cultivate diverse populations while paying respects to the former Herman Garden site, bringing back a level of public housing that this community and area desperately needs, and doing so in a safe way, and bringing the opportunity for community. So a quick overview of this site in its planning right now. 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. Proposed approximately 175 units. Included in this area would be play structures, community gardens, indoor and outdoor gathering spaces, and then on-site community services, financial literacy programs, educational resources, childcare resources, things for the people who live there. Just a couple of renderings for you. The apartment building on top, and then the other 3 images are the townhomes. Zoomed in image in the apartment building would be 1 and 2 bedroom units, 47 1 bedroom units, 6 2 bedroom units. The 1 bedrooms would be 575 square feet, 2 bedrooms 950 square feet. And in that same building would be a 950 square foot common area community space. Then in those townhomes there would be 10 townhome buildings, 12 units in each building. In total, 80 2-bedroom units, 40 3-bedroom units. Each building is about 14,000 square feet, and then the townhomes would share a community space of approximately 1,400 square feet. In doing so, we'll be able to bring deep affordable and affordable living to this community, 30, 40, 60, and 80% AMI levels. Have the goal of starting construction in late 2026 with a completed construction date early 2028. Just an overview.
And Mr. Chair, that ends the presentation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. First, we'll go to our commissioners. Do you have any questions? All right, Commissioner Daniels, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How many, you said it's 170, how many units was it out
About 175.
Okay. What's the total cost of the project?
Between all, so multi-phase development, the apartment building itself, approximately 17 million, and then for the 10 buildings of townhomes, about 46 million.
46 million?
Yep. So approximately total about 60 million.
Okay. And your company's going to be the management company to manage this once it's completed, or?
So Continental Management is the management agent of MHT Housing, and DHC, through this RFQ process, has selected Continental Management to be the management company post-completion.
Okay. Sounds like a great project. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Daniels. And welcome, Commissioner Russell. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for your presentation. One question is, can you talked about the AMI levels. Can you just repeat that so I can write that down, please?
Yeah. So 30%, 40%, 60%, and 80%. If you kind of want me to get into what that means income-wise, happy to do so.
My question is there a sunset clause on how long this has to be affordable housing?
So they run in 15-year terms. And then after that 15 years, it'll be up to the Housing Commission, their purview on how they want the project to proceed after those next 15 years.
Do you have an idea of what the projected levels of rent would be? Or like what the rent costs would be depending on those AMIs?
I can give you an idea of what they're at right now.
Yeah.
As this cycles through over the next 2 years before residents will actually be there,
Yeah.
I can kind of give you an idea. So 30% is tougher because those would be vouchered individuals. So
Yeah.
individuals who are making less than 20 grand a year. It's really hard to identify what that looks like just because there's variance.
Right.
Up to 60%, you're probably looking at somewhere between $1,050 to $1,150, and then you kind of in between 40%, 50%, kind of in between that gap of $600 a month to $1,000 a month.
Thank you. Are you all trying to get LIHTC?
Yes, this would be 9% low-income housing tax credits.
Okay. Thank you. And then maybe I think that I hear a lot about in your presentation about how you want to cultivate diverse populations, and I appreciate you touching on that. Besides just having the different price points for rent depending on AMI, are there any other ways that you all are planning to cultivate diverse populations?
Yeah, so because a very large percent of these units would be vouchered units, HUD has restrictions on who can and cannot be in these units, and they have very strict regimen on how we not only market these units, but how individuals are applied, and then the DHC has their own wait list that they work through. So monetarily is not the only restriction that we have to be aware of. It's also background, family. So there's a whole list of things that when these units become online, that we have to pay attention to and make sure we follow.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking to that. And then another question I have, if you're able to speak to it, is the experience of Continental Management, who will be managing this space afterwards. Do they have experience working on buildings in Detroit? And what are some of their highlights, if you know?
I'm going to top my head, so don't hold me to these numbers. I think Continental Management's been around for about 15 years. Every project that MHT does inside the city and outside the city is managed by Continental Management. So 30,000 units. A lot of it's in the city of Detroit. Well known by city representatives, has a very backed and highly respected reputation.
Okay, thank you so much. And maybe my last question for you is, can you speak at all to the design choices of the apartments and the townhomes? Maybe what was the inspiration or choice of
Absolutely.
building exterior? Yeah.
When the DHC put this RFQ out last fall, they came with a specific, vision. They wanted to not only match what was currently there to the east of Garden View, the apartments and townhomes that are there, but they wanted to distinguish themselves on this piece of land. So they wanted to match kind of the aesthetics of what was currently there, but make sure that it felt like this was its own community. So mixing the townhome and apartment style creates kind of their own community, and we're going to do our best to match the colors of the building to what exists currently on that site. So it's a cohesive community space for the individuals that have been living there over the past couple decades and these new residents.
Okay, thank you so much. I thought of another question, so please bear with me. I don't know this, so that is why I ask, but are there any requirements for a number of ADA accessible units? Are those already?
There are. So
Locked in.
MISTA and HUD have their own requirements, especially going through LIHTC. There will be, I believe it's 10%, have to be 10% or more have to be ADA accessible. We will absolutely adhere to that, both in the townhomes and the apartment building. It's a requirement.
Okay, thank you for answering all my questions. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Esparza.
Thank you, Chairman. I have several questions for the petitioner. Since you made reference to this development, the goal was to try to be compatible somewhat to the existing. Might I have missed maybe the part of the presentation with some existing photographs of the immediate area? Did I miss that, or we just have not shared that?
Through the chair to Commissioner Esparza, I don't believe there were any in the presentation. I'll go through the slides really quickly, and if not, I can pull some up and share them in a moment.
Great, thank you. And then to the petitioner, was it mentioned that this would be a phased development? And if so, what goes first?
It's phased in the sense that the structure of the financing behind this will be phased. The actual construction of these buildings will be at the same time and completed at the same date.
Okay, thank you. The visuals that we see, the renderings, I think they're labeled as concept. Are they still just conceptual, or are they going to be finalized?
Correct. So it has gone through the PPR process. So this concept has, as of right now, these are conceptual drawings. As we engage more with the community, they will become finalized before financing is closed.
Okay, so you have gone through the PPR process?
Correct.
And there were comments that needed to be addressed, or?
There were ADA comments, making sure that what we had presented were following as what was required. We ended up coming back and showing them the changes that had shown that. That was their biggest concern. Density of the project was a concern. So we detailed why the structure of this project, why we ended up going with the vision that we had. And then coloring of the buildings was something that they wanted us to emphasize, so we did that as well. Those were probably the three biggest concerns that they had.
Okay. Landscaping.
Yes.
Will the landscaping be further developed and maybe expanded upon what we see right now? Because the landscaping seems kind of sparse, so I'm just kind of curious as to whether it's because it's still conceptual.
This is conceptual. There will be green spaces and community gardens for residents. But yes, this is really conceptual, so it is a concern that we will take very serious consideration of.
And since MHT is the developer, is the design being produced in-house? Do you have like in-house architects, or do you have a separate architectural team that's part of the overall team?
We have both. So we have in-house architects and we third party with two different architecture firms to build this.
Okay. And can you share their names?
Creative Design Studios and Chemtech.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Esparza. Commissioner Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One quick question. How many Detroit-based companies will you be using to assist you in building this development?
I can't answer that specifically. I would say that when we contract work for every other Detroit project we've done, it's been a focus to search out Detroit bids and contractors before looking outside the city and outside the state.
So you put out an RFP of sorts, or how do you?
When through the bidding process, there are not only MISTA and HUD requirements for looking within the city and within the state, but we also do the same. So there's a bidding process that happens once the construction becomes closer.
Okay. Right. Commissioner Bennett and then Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairman. I guess to dig a bit further in Commissioner Daniels' question, do you have an idea of the average amount of Detroit-based contractors over the course of your projects? I know MHT is doing a lot of work throughout the city.
I don't off the top of my head. I could follow up and get you an actual number. I don't want to speculate or guess without an idea, but I can follow up for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Bennett. Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm going to, my apologies for missing most of the presentation. I got a couple of questions for staff first. This area we've seen a number of times over the years, and I don't know if you spoke to how well are what we approved in the past, how well are they doing? What's the occupancy rate on those? Do we know?
Through the chair to Commissioner Russell, I'm going to pass that over to Director Todd. The only one that I know of that was done just south of this site at Warren and Southfield, I don't believe has completed construction yet. Or if they, I'm not sure the status on that one.
Through the chair, I am unaware at this point, in terms of how the original phases of construction are faring, the current occupancy rates. I do know that there have been issues off and on over the years with some of the, not with any of the structures, but again, with respect to some of the activities that unfortunately still take place on the site that are akin to those which took place back when this was public housing in terms of crime. But I will yield to Mr. Gulak. In fact, if he has any more specifics with regard to not only some of the status of some of the current residential or even the related institutional or commercial development that has been proposed for the site as well. Otherwise, we will look to work with the Housing Commission and others to gain that status for your next meeting.
Yeah, Chris Gulak, CPC staff. Yeah, I don't have a good answer. I know the project does have a variety of uses. There's a senior complex, off of Joy Road, and that seems to be pretty successful. The other units seem to be occupied with cars in the street, and but we'd have to defer to the Housing Commission to give us more of an update. And Commission may recall you did approve of that healthcare clinic on Joy Road, and I drove by that last week, and it's open, and it seems to be a good use for the community. So, but we'll have to ask the Housing Commission how the occupancy rates are doing for the rest of the complex. We forgot to mention in our report, I think the Housing Commission is putting out an RFP for some of the land to the west of this to be developed as a school. And so that should probably be, we're not sure if that has to come through the Commissioner Council. Schools might not need PD sign-off. So we did want you to be aware that the Housing Commission is negotiating with the school to occupy some of the vacant lots to the northwest of this project. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to, I live on this side of town, and so I'm pretty familiar with the area. And when they first started redeveloping this area, I thought that, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that it was not just to be public housing, that you know, and that's why on the east side the streets integrate with the neighborhood, and that at some point it was, you know, it was like market rate. I think that was like one of the very first things, and so that there was a mix of income. And I didn't know if there are any plans to keep that going, or if that's gone away, or, you know, and I guess you could sum it up as, who are we trying to attract in this development?
I can't speak on the market rate vision that the DHC has for this parcel of land. I can attempt to answer the question of who we're trying to attract is Detroit families who are looking for an affordable option. The various levels of AMI, going from 30 to 80, covers a broad range of income. That's about 23,000 to 78,000. So we can grab a lot of families who live near or in Detroit in that income band to be a part of this community. So our goal is to be as least restrictive as possible, but to also take care of those who are in situations of deep affordability and affordable housing.
And I'm not busting your chops, right? But I got a lot of questions. You know, and it should fill a void, right? But, you know, Detroit wants to attract people from all over, you know, and I think it's just a personal thing. Communities are best when there's a mix of people, and we want to try to attract that. I don't know how that's accomplished there. Back to staff, I think there was a project on the northeast corner. There was a school that was supposed to go in there. Is that still pending, or?
Through the chair, I believe Commissioner Russell was talking about maybe the northwest corner at Joy and Southfield. There was a proposal to put a child care facility in there, and I think they did present to the commission, but we have not heard back from them. So I assume the project was tabled.
Okay. And then there were supposed to be, I think we asked about some street improvements to slow down the traffic there at Warren and Southfield. Joy, I'm sorry. Thank you. Joy and Southfield.
And through the chair, I do believe when commission looked at that proposal, there was concerns about the children playing so close to Joy Road and the service drive. So we haven't heard back from them. I assume the project is looking at another location. And I do recall the traffic being a concern for that project, but I haven't heard of any other specific concerns about Joy Road in this area. The commissioner is right, though, that regarding the housing, yes, the HUD did want to, when they demolished Herman Gardens, the goal was to create a mixed income, mixed housing type for this area. And I agree with MHA Housing that the 30% to 80% does give quite a good range of rents for the proposal. The commission may recall here that there's a variety of housing types, townhouses, and there's some low one-story duplexes and triplexes. So there's a variety. I think the commission did consider a request in the past to put some larger single-family houses here. I think Director Todd may recall maybe 10 years ago, but I think that project that proposal fell through. So the current proposal is to do more higher density, but there is still a mix of housing income types.
Through the chair, Mr.
Wynn.
Sorry. He actually has a little bit more information on the development going right next to it with a school.
So that site, the northeast corner of that site, I cannot speak to the project in great detail, but KIPP Schools.
Northeast or northwest?
Northwest, I apologize. Northwest, KIPP Schools is a partner of the DHC, planning to, as of right now, develop on that site. MHT is not a partner in that project, but I do know that that is something that the DHC and KIPP Schools have partnered on.
Okay. And and this is a question that goes to serving all age population, and one of the other commissioners asked about the ADA portion, but for seniors with limited mobility, are they, or what type of, are we trying to attract seniors and the services that they need?
So the development itself does not have age restrictions. As for the ability of seniors, townhome units will be individual entries, first floor entries. Either sides of the building will have ramps. In the apartment building itself, we'll have an elevator. There will be first floor units. So whether it's 1, 2, or 3 bedroom units, there will be options for those who have wheelchairs, have other physical needs, and there are not age restrictions on this development.
And so in this goes to community, like in the neighborhoods, they will have a block club or community group, and on the eastern edge of the project where the streets go into the old fabric of the neighborhood, are there any, do you know of any community groups that are adjacent or that are in this facility? And if there aren't any, is that something you guys are going to help foster?
So the development itself, there will be 2 community spaces, both of them indoor, and then an outdoor community space. And then to the southeast of the development is the Boys and Girls Club. So there is, within that block or so, there is currently groups there, and then we hope to provide an opportunity for those who live on the site to have an area to gather.
And I wasn't speaking so much as to the physical structure and outside groups, but the residents, do they have a community group? And as the owners and operators of it, is that something you kind of foster?
We'd hope to. I can't speak to any specifics, but with other developments that we've done within the city, we try to partner with as many community-involved groups in the area and throughout the city as possible. So yes, that's something that we pay attention to and try and prioritize.
Okay. And just a couple more. On the eastern edge, and I guess all around, at some neighborhoods, they'll have identity, and it'll say, you're entering into this community to kind of, are there any plans to add those type of things?
Physical signages?
Yeah, just sort of an identity of that community.
I mean, there will absolutely be physical signages on the buildings and around the buildings to identify it. Speaking outside of the development itself, outside the 2 parcels, I can't speak to that. But it's something that hopefully there is some type of identification of the growth of this area.
Right. And I'm trying to think of an example of what I'm talking about. But sometimes you'll ride into a neighborhood and they'll have, hey, this is such and such block club, and you're riding into their neighborhood, and they'll have that on the entry points, or they'll have, this is, like it's Indian Village or whatever they'll have.
Through the chair, I've actually pulled up the Garden View Estates, the current developments entry with their signage, and it also speaks to Commissioner Esparza's questions earlier as to the color scheme of the buildings. But this is currently what you drive into when entering the Garden View Estates that are already established there.
Okay, and so on those eastern edges where it meets in, are there any identifying pieces? Like when you, I guess it's Belton Street, and and on the Tireman, just in the, sometimes it doesn't have to be big and fancy, but that's what I was speaking.
Through the chair, I do know that the ones that I'm thinking of, and this one here is on Joy. I'm not sure about coming off of Tireman there where it goes further into the neighborhood.
Right, and it's certainly not like a mandatory thing, but just my line of thinking that creates, I don't know, some pride in your neighborhood, and also kind of foster some interaction. And that's why I was asking about the outside community groups. Maybe there's a block club on what's the street on Metatol or St. Mary's that might use the physical space that you guys have provided, and that kind of fosters a good community spirit.
Just give me 1 second. I want to recess the 5:15 public hearing to call the chair and call the 6 p.m. public hearing, and then recess the 6 p.m. public hearing and resume the 5:15 public hearing. Carry on, Commissioner Russell.
And then
To the call of the chair.
okay, this is the last one. And this is just my thing, right? On, townhomes and individual homes, and it might be kind of corny, I always think that a front porch that allows for a couple of people to sit on their front porch kind of says hello to the rest of the community and kind of makes for a safer community. And is that something you guys want to start incorporating into this phase and future phases?
Absolutely. In the townhomes, the renderings do show canopies over the individual entries with sort of a first level balcony type of area for chairs, patio sets, something where people can organically congregate. There is that ability there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one question for the petitioner and then one question for staff. I'm reading this and I see on the conceptual site plan that it's mixed use. How much commercial space is planned? Because and where in the site do you anticipate that commercial space?
The vision and renderings of this project right now does not include commercial space. The option was there in conversations we had with the Housing Commission, decided to go on a route that was community and individual focused, with the option, if we were to do additional phases, if additional RFQs were put out to do some sort of commercial space. But because of the school, because of the existing buildings, the apartment buildings, townhomes that were there, it didn't feel appropriate to bring in commercial space in that area right now.
So where it says on the proposed plan where mixed use, the commercial space is the mix. It was the mix of uses that was planned for the site, but that's no longer planned.
As of right now, yes.
Okay, all right. So it's okay. Thank you. Question. Thank you for that. And for staff, just for these types of review for PD. How much, I know this might be hard, I'm trying to frame the question, but in terms of reviewing the site plan and how much is conceptual at the time when we give consideration and how much goes back to staff, is there a certain percentage of the site plan that, we typically see and then leaving the rest for staff review, for consideration? What should we see, how much of the PD is typically done when sort of we make a design decision? Because there's been several things that have been talked about relating to design that we don't see, and just wondering what might we expect when we come back.
Through the chair to Commissioner Harrison, oftentimes we will receive what is more or less a complete package where development has, I should say, complete at least through maybe design development, where a number of the considerations really have been addressed, and they're looking to finalize those things before going to the final step of construction drawings. Other times, however, we're receiving sometimes schematic or conceptual level with maybe additional visuals such as renderings that will at least better convey the exterior and material list. So it will vary based upon where the particular development is at the given point in time that they are actually pursuing the rezoning, or in this case, the PD modification. And in those instances, and based upon your review and concerns, you may in fact direct staff to take the lead going forward to City Council and beyond with addressing particular aspects of the proposal, or again, wherein there are identified items that are yet to be resolved for whatever reason from the developer's perspective. We may even include those specifics in the conditions wherein we're looking at a PD such as this.
All right. Thank you, Director Todd. So some of the things that we've discussed today will come back and be a part of it.
And yes, we will look to provide the commission with as much available information and responses as possible, that which again is left hanging either at our recommendation or certainly at your request. Again, specifics can be made subject of conditions to the PD approval.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that, Director Todd. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harrison. Commissioner Lewis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Wen, is it?
Willian.
Williet?
Willian.
Willian. Who will own this development? Will it be owned by the Detroit Housing Commission?
It will be owned both by the Detroit Housing Commission and MHT Housing. They are co-developers and co-owners.
And what is the percentage ownership?
51% MHT, 49% DHC.
And how long do you anticipate the Detroit Housing Commission to be a part of that ownership arrangement?
As of right now, the structure on LIHTC developments is 15 years. At the end of that, it then gets revisited between the managing members to decide how they want to progress beyond those 15 years.
At this time, do you anticipate that MHT would be a 100% owner of this development?
No.
Currently, this is rental, correct?
Correct.
So it is a long way from Herman Gardens to Garden View. And certainly Detroit, along with urban communities across this country, are in great need of rental housing. I thank you for your presentation, and I hope that your moving forward with this will help young Detroit families that truly need rental housing at a rental rate that is affordable. Clearly understanding that as MHT looks at its bottom line, you do need some higher rents to survive. I'd like to thank you for your investment.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis. And I just have a few closing questions. Some things I heard we can just kind of skip over. As it relates to the color pattern, when I look at the concept, I see that there is variation on a single building. One end is blue, one end is green. But when you start to replicate that pattern, it starts to become very cookie cutterish, where they're all just the same building in different locations. Are you able to provide any variation with the colors between the buildings so it just doesn't appear to be as kind of uniform across the site?
Absolutely. And when we've done community engagement meetings, the idea of individual units having their own type of identification, whether that's a door or shutters, something that shows their own unique identity, is something we've taken into consideration. So not only the buildings themselves having an identification, but the individual families in these units having their own identification too.
Okay. So would it be fair to expect that when this item comes back, some of these renderings that are concepts, we'll see some variation in colors?
Absolutely.
On these designs? Okay. Also, I noticed, and based on what you said, that the design is meant to replicate some of the various characteristics of other buildings in the area. And what I see is that some of these buildings have, looks like a third of the building is metal corrugated panels and siding. Is that a reflection of the other residential developments in the area? What is the reasoning, I guess, behind using that versus vinyl?
So that's the only outside the box kind of uniqueness about that area. So most of it's either stone or brick or vinyl siding, incorporating that metal. I think it was the third or fourth story of the apartment building has that metal siding. It was designed that one going through the PPR process, something that they identified as something to create something unique about that building, while also not standing out amongst the entire community, but some type of individualistic identity for that building, was something that they liked.
So, Pete, are you saying PDD brought up to use metal, or PDD brought up to be creative and then use selected metal?
So we went through the process. We initially presented that idea to them, and they highlighted that they appreciated that thinking when doing that.
PDD likes the metal.
They did. This was a building that we had also done MHT, MLK on Second, a new development over the past year or so. We modeled portions of it off of that. That building also does have the third-story metal siding. So.
And in your community engagement, do the residents like metal as a exterior material?
There were no comments that came back as hesitant or concerning about the building design.
Okay. I mean, my personal opinion, I'm not a fan, but I don't want to speak for all the PDD and all of my fellow commissioners here. Director Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, through you, ask a question of the petitioner in follow-up on that.
Yes.
Are you able at this point to say what particular material or brand you may be using? Are we looking for a certain gauge? What's maybe been used in some of your other projects in order to verify the performance over time? I think in terms of Centria panel, metal panel, one example, but certainly there are many others.
Thank you.
I cannot speak to. I can't comment on that type of question. All I can say is that through the engagements that we've had with community members, what we've presented to city officials and others in the community, they came back with no comments that were hesitant about what we had provided at that time.
Okay. So I'll just kind of say what I'm getting at, and then you can take it as you can back to your team.
Okay.
I've seen metal on buildings around the city. Personally, I'm not a fan.
Okay.
I like that you have the brick and the other materials, and it just seems like when you get to that third level, you like metal was just thrown up as a last minute resort. So if there is opportunity between now and when you go back to workshop alternative materials for consideration, I would greatly appreciate if you could do that. But again, this is my opinion. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I would just like to see either vinyl, an alternative vinyl, or an alternative type of panel that is just not metal. Okay.
I appreciate the feedback.
Thank you. And let me make sure that's all my questions here. Landscaping, I think when you come back, we'll see that in greater detail. That was brought up by my fellow commissioners. Do you anticipate using the Detroit pilot program in this?
Yes.
In your capital staff? Yes? Okay. And then following up with Commissioner Harrison, you do have some elevations that say storefront windows. I anticipate when that comes back, those will not be on the elevations anymore?
No, they'll be redesigned that'll be the community space.
Okay.
So still that big design of open scenic kind of looking out into an open area, but it will be for the community area.
Okay. So you'll have the storefront windows, but it won't be a retail space. It'll just be
Correct.
community space.
Correct.
Okay. That is all of my questions. Commissioner Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Where are some of your other projects that have already been completed located in the city of Detroit?
Can go down the list here. So I'm okay on Second, AOD, Brewster Wheeler sites. Trying to think off the top.
Excuse me, what you could do is, if you can you just get a list back to us?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, we can look at that way. Thank you.
All right. I think that concludes all of our questions, so thank you for answering those. This is a public hearing, so in our typical public hearing format, it's an opportunity for residents and members of participants in the meeting to engage and ask questions related to the applicant or the development itself. There are two ways to participate. If you are here in the audience, you can get staff a yellow comment card, and then they'll get that card to the front, and then we'll acknowledge you in that fashion. Or if you are participating in the Zoom platform, you can raise your hand, and then we'll acknowledge you and bring you over so you can speak. With that, everyone has 2 minutes. We will open the public hearing portion of this item. Ms. Swed, do you have any public commenters online?
Mr. Chair, I do not see any hands raised.
All right. I will go back to the room, and then we'll double back. Just give people one more second. Do we have any public comments here in the room for this 5:15 public hearing?
Mr. Chair, I do not see any.
Okay. We do not have any in the room. And just one last check. Do you have any virtual hands?
Mr. Chair, there is one hand raised.
All right. Let's acknowledge him and bring him over.
All right, our caller's name is Royce, and they should be able to speak now.
Hello. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I was just curious in terms of MHT. I'm seeing them developing a lot of different properties around the city, but I have not seen that name around, 4 or 5 years ago. I was just curious, are they from out of the state, or are they a new company formed by from other companies that used to do work with Detroit? I'm just curious.
MHT Housing has been around for about 30 years, and our headquarters is in Bingham Farms, Michigan. So we've been committed to the city and working with the city for quite a few decades.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's all right. We let it go. All right. Do we have any other hands, Ms. Swed?
Mr. Chair, we do not.
Okay. With that, we will close the 5:15 public hearing. Fellow commissioners, do you have any more comments or questions of the applicant? Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one question for staff. Is the reason that it is we're working with PD instead of rezoning to an R5 or something else so that we are able to have more design control over the project, or what is the rationale for that?
Through the chair to Vice Chair Secretary Udabi, when this matter was first presented, as alluded to earlier, it was a understanding from the intent of the Housing Commission to provide a very unique alternative to the previous traditional public housing that sat there under Herman Gardens. And it was determined, in order to best do so and put in the necessary infrastructure that will support it and actually lay the street grid out, that the PD would be the best way in which to do that. And it, as to your point, would provide the city with the design review over the course of the development, particularly given even then the thought that it may vary over the years from the original concept. So when it was originally conceived, it did basically bring forward multifamily housing in townhomes on the eastern component, the core where you see the street grid laid out, and the curved portion at the northern edge was all intended to be single family, and then single family also going over single family, market rate single family, as alluded to earlier, going further to the east, further to the west, and then to the north with the senior component. Again, over the years, particularly with the housing crisis of the 2008, that's when things really began to change. But bottom line is, this was the agreed upon zoning mechanism between the city and the Housing Commission in order to ensure design quality, design review, and given that this was anticipated, again, to be a development that would be achieved over the years.
Okay. Thank you. Super helpful. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All right. As we have no further comments, Ms. Swed, can you give us some high-level next steps and close this item out for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We will be bringing this back with answers to your questions and the information that you've requested. And we will be going through all of the different criteria for this modification and coming back to you with a recommendation.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
All right. Next, I want to recall to the chair our 6 p.m. public hearing. This is to consider the request of Matthew Walters on behalf of Goat Yard Marine LLC, doing business as Detroit Boat Works, to rezone properties at 2 St. Jean, 21 St. Jean, 95 St. Jean, and 140 Terminal Street from PD Plan Development and M4 Intensive Industrial Zoning Classification to a B4 General Business Zoning Classification. And it looks like Ms. Swed and Mr. Jeffries will be helping out this evening. Whenever you're ready, take it away.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and if I could give the commission or the petitioners an opportunity to introduce themselves while I pull up the screen share.
Yes, you may, whenever you're ready. And you can tap the base, it'll turn from red to green.
Thank you. Matt Walters with Walters Group.
Hanson Bratton with Goat Yard Marine.
Thank you. Welcome.
And Mr. Chair, as you said, this is a rezoning for the Detroit Boat Works, and it is rezoning land that is currently PD. The original PD was created in 2005, and it is located, or it was to include 40 single-family homes within a gated community known as the Morgan Waterfront Estates. This portion of that at 2 St. Jean is located south. So this portion of that site, the 2 St. Jean, on this map is below where the small blue box is in that polygon there. And that site has sat completely vacant since the original PD was established in 2005. Currently, the zoning of the site, as said, it was PD. There is a small or single parcel in the middle of it that is M4, as well as part of what we are looking to rezone in this proposal from M4 as well. The M4 parcel is owned outside of the petitioners do not have control of that land, and that is not part of the rezoning. The land to the north is also zoned M4. Land to the west is PD as well, and to the east is PD with the homes that were developed from the original PD. And then to the south is the river, and there is a canal running along the eastern border of the site. You can see the site a little bit better here. You can see the homes that were developed just east of the site, as well as the canal. And this rezoning is looking to allow for a marina along there. This is another image with the site and the current zoning, and you can see where that M4 area to be rezoned. They're kind of center of the two blocks that are PD. The master plan interpretation for this, in working with P&DD, the B4 zoning is not consistent with the low-density residential designation that this land currently has. But as part of the comprehensive master plan update, P&DD is examining this area for amending the classification. And I'm going to pass this on to our petitioners.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good evening to everybody, and thank you for having us here. As we've discussed, this rezoning is for a proposed marine at the site. this marina would include maintenance, painting, storage, boat storage, and slips that would be rented out to the marine industry. This site historically, as you can tell by the M4 zoning that is there now on part of the site, historically has been I'll say storage and offloading for freighters to a terminal, a train line, a rail line that used to exist on the site. This is 60, 70, 80 years ago. So making the point that because of that industrial material unloading and loading, the site is very contaminated. So part of this project will be to remediate, cap, and remove that environmental hazard that exists still to this day. The Morgan Estates development that was mentioned originally, again, as mentioned, this site, or part of this rezoning, the area that's being rezoned was part of that project, but because of the environmental hazardous situation, it was not able to become or developed into single-family homes. This is 15, 20 years ago now. So, 2 St. Jean, 21 St. Jean, 95 St. Jean, the addresses that were mentioned, that are all part of this rezoning application, would be an expansion of what exists today. Hanson Bratton, the gentleman to my right, purchased 95 and 21 St. Jean over the past 5-6 years. That was just roughly 3 acres, and has remediated, developed a small Detroit-based business that exists there today, which is all marine related. What had existed there, if you could keep going, please. What did exist there previous to the last 5-6 years was I'll say run-down marina that had blighted structures.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah,
I think we have to do this to pause recess. We lost the feed. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
All right. We apologize, everyone. We're just going to do a brief recess to the call of the chair while we work through our technical difficulties.
Just the computer. I can connect it to my computer. Oh, got it.
So people can call in and all that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It knew we were on track to be done before 8 o'clock. That's what it was.
Oh, there you go. Control the slides, Marcel.